Okay, I have 5 o'clock. So with that, I'm going to call to order tonight's meeting of the Utility Service Board. The first item we need to attend to is to amend the agenda with the addition of item 9, which is a request for approval of a second amendment to the agreement with Greeley and Hanson. And is there a motion to add that to our agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Amanda, you're on mute, but I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of this motion? Let's see. Holly, can you please call the roll?
Sherman,
Yes.
Kapler,
Yes.
Parmenter,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yes.
Okay. Our agenda is amended with the addition of that item. Next item is approval of the meeting minutes from the previous meeting on October 12th. Are there any questions or additions, changes to be made? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
So move.
Second.
All right, Holly, can you please call the roll?
Parmenter,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Kapler,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yes.
Okay, minutes are approved. Next up, we have approval of the claims, standard invoices in the amount of $1,215,031.42. Are there any questions or comments about the standard invoices? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All right, and Holly, please call the roll.
Burnham,
Yes.
Parmenter,
Yes.
Kapler,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
All right, invoices are approved. Thank you. Utility bills in the amount of $14,845.99. Any questions, concerns about utility bills? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve utility bills?
So move.
Second.
And Holly, please call the roll.
Parmenter,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Kapler,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yes.
All right, that is approved. Last up under claims is the wire transfers in the amount of $358,828.56. Any questions or concerns about wire transfers? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
And Holly?
Burnham,
Yes.
Parmenter,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Kapler,
Yes. All right, wire transfers approved, and I take it there are no customer refunds to review this week. So moving on to the consent agenda, and I'll turn it over to Vic Helson.
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to present the consent agenda for tonight. It totals $32,838.38. The first is item A to Airmaster for $4,955. This replaces a squirrel cage blower at Dillman. Bruce Home Improvements, $3,550 to repair an overhead door at the Blucher Pool plant. Maxim Crane Works, $680 to remove and replace the rotary screen at Dillman. Bluestone LLC, $1,392.38 for tree pruning at Dillman to clear the solar panels. And $22,261 to Hawk for bench service maintenance for our ammonia monochloramine analyzers at Monroe. Is there any board member who would like to consider any of these items separately? Hearing none, if there's no opposition, we'll approve these as recommended by staff. Hearing no opposition, these items are approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. Next item is a request for approval to the agreement with Infrastructure Systems, Inc. For the Monroe Water Treatment Plant Residuals Basin Improvements. And Brad Schrader will tell us about this.
Hi, this is Brad Schrader with the Engineering Department. At the last board meeting, the board approved a resolution to award to Infrastructure Systems for the Monroe Basin Residual Improvements. And in this meeting, we are bringing you the contract for $525,277 for this work to be performed. I'm happy to answer any questions you would have regarding the contract or the work.
Are there any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, then is there a motion to approve this agreement?
So moved.
Second.
All right, and Holly, please call the roll.
Parmenter,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yes.
Kapler.
Yes. All right, thank you. That agreement is approved. Next up, we have a request for approval of a memorandum of understanding between CBU and the City of Bloomington Planning and Transportation for green stormwater infrastructure. And Phil Peden is going to address that with us. Is Phil on?
Yes, hi, Phil Peden with the Engineering
Oh,
Department.
there you are.
You see me? Okay. Yes, so this is a project that we're really excited about. We've been anxious to get some new green infrastructure projects going. We heard that Planning and Transportation was working on this bike lane through a real active corridor for pedestrians and vehicular traffic. And one of our goals with green infrastructure is get it out there where people can see it, where people can start to ask questions to promote the pathway we're going towards green infrastructure. And so this bike lane is from the B line near City Hall along 7th Street at Morton all the way to Woodlawn. And so they once we talked to them a little bit, Planning and Transportation, and once they heard how much the amount of money that CBU had designated toward green infrastructure and this project, they were on board with us adding that to the project. So what we've shown here is about $10,000 in design, and then we're estimating $140,000 in construction costs. That'll be edited once we actually get the bids in, but this is a not to exceed amount of $150,000. There's about 27 locations for the rain garden type green infrastructure along this corridor of different sizes. Many of those are areas in between the tree plots. So if you got a tree, you got a little bit of space where a lot of that's paved in concrete right now, and then another tree, and we're going to take advantage of that space to collect the stormwater and then treat it. Here to answer any questions if you've got any.
Okay, any questions? Amanda?
So, Phil, when this gets finished, whose responsibility is it then to continue to maintain it after installation? Is that CBU's responsibility or the city's?
It will be CBU. It'll be our new crew that's going to maintain green infrastructure. We've got two crew members for that.
And the second question is, when is this construction supposed to begin?
Yeah, they're going to start this next year.
Okay. Those are my only questions.
Sounds good to me, Phil.
I think they're going to try to do a lot of it once the students are gone. So it's next summer.
Okay, thank you. And Megan, you had a question or comment?
Yes, so I'm just trying to picture in my mind 7th Street, in that area. I guess I was thinking there is already a bike lane there. Did I miss something, or there's just not a bike lane? Okay.
There may
I ride my
portions of that.
Yeah, I ride my bike there a lot.
I guess I was thinking around like between Walnut and College, in that area there was a bike lane, but maybe that's wrong, and I'll look forward to seeing this new bike lane.
Well, you do have some paint marks that designate bike lanes. This will actually be protected by a curb, so it'll be separated from vehicular traffic. It'll be a little safer than just the painted lines.
Thank you,
And
that helps
Amanda.
vision better.
And I have one other question that I just thought of too. With the, and I know we've called this different names and whatnot, but the next section of the Jordan Big Dig culvert, like whatever we're calling that next section, is this section of 17th Street going to be affected by, or pardon me, 7th Street, going to be affected by the sewer replacement for that other section? I just want to make sure we're not putting in something that's only to be ripped up in another year because of another project.
The large tunnel replacement project is all south of Kirkwood.
Okay, thank you. That's why I just wanted to make sure that we're not causing double damage.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I would just like to applaud the jumping on this opportunity to expand our green stormwater infrastructure in the city. And I agree that's a well-traveled area, a well-traveled road. And so I look forward to seeing this get put in. So great project. All right, then with that, is there a motion to approve this memorandum of understanding with planning and transportation?
So moved.
Second.
All right, and Holly?
Burnham,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Parmenter,
Yes.
Kapler,
Yes. All right, that is approved. Thank you. Next up, request for approval to the agreement for services with Potomac Electric Services, LLC, doing business as electrical maintenance and testing for the rehabilitation of 3 Magna Blast breakers at the Dillman Wastewater Treatment Plant. Cindy Shaw is going to talk with us. Cindy.
Hi, I'm Cindy Shaw Purchasing, and we're asking the board to approve the contract for $29,400 to rebuild and rehabilitate 3 breakers, which I believe, I was hoping Brad would stay on the line. He might be able to answer this more better than I can. But these breakers, as I understand, come into the Dillman substation from the power supply outside the station, and then they redirect that power to the plant from 4160 volt to 480 volt or 3-phase. So these are large breakers that can interrupt the service if necessary, but they control the power flow or power flow to the plant for all the equipment. We have these breakers in both the pump room and I believe the substation. Brad, correct me if that's incorrect.
Yeah, they're all near the substation, and they're just breakers. It's 4160 on both sides of the breaker. And
okay.
Yeah.
And we've had 3 rebuilt. This is the second 3. Is that? I think that's also correct, right, Brad?
Correct. Yes, to my knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
Be happy to take any questions with Brad.
Any questions? All right, seeing none, then is there a motion to approve this agreement for services?
So moved.
Second.
And Holly?
Burnham,
Yes.
Kapler,
Yes.
Parmenter,
Yes.
Sherman.
Yes.
All right, that agreement is approved. Next item is a request for approval of a First Amendment to the agreement with Torque Engineering for the installation of cellular connection service for the West Booster. And Brad Schrader will speak with us. Brad.
Yes, hi, Brad again with the Engineering Department Division. We had an agreement in place with Torque Engineering to change from radio frequency to cellular to communicate with the West Booster and then both the West and Southwest tanks. The main purpose of that was to get the cellular up and running and then allow the boosters between that one and the Southwest to alternate running and be controlled by tank levels. That work was performed and completed. And then when we started everything up, we recognized from our side, we didn't include in the scope of work that we also wanted to maintain control with the Monroe plant to the boosters. And we thought we were getting that We thought it would happen naturally, and it didn't happen naturally, and it wasn't written into the scope of work. So Torque Engineering has quoted $4,796 to complete that so that Monroe can turn the pumps on and off in case of emergency if they need to shut them off on the road. So that is the amendment we're asking for your approval for. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, then is there a motion to approve this amendment to the agreement?
So move.
Second.
All right, and Holly, please call the roll.
Sherman,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yes.
Kapler,
Yes.
Parmenter.
Yes.
All right, thank you. That amendment is approved. Next item is the request for approval of a second amendment to the agreement with Greeley and Hanson for professional engineering services for the Dillman Wastewater Treatment Plant capacity expansion. And again, we have Brad Schrader to talk with us about it.
Yes, hi. This one thing to note on the memorandum, the cover sheet, it shows the second amendment being $2,664,000, and it's actually that was the total of the first and second. It's actually this amendment is $1,116,000. Still a big number, but not $2 million at least. This Greeley and Hanson is our engineer for the large project going on at the Dillman plant, and there have been a few things that came up, which is requires them, which has increased their cost by this $1 million. The first is we had to extend the schedule of the construction by 10 months. So originally it was to be a 1.5 year project, and it's gone to 2.5 years. And the primary reason was during the process, right before going to bid, the feedback that Greeley and Hanson was getting from the contractors was that electrical equipment has a very long lead time right now, and so it's hard to get a lot of electrical equipment. And then also just the pure construction phasing of the project to keep the plant running while they do all this work was going to be difficult, and they felt they could save, all the contractors could save us money by extending the contract by 10 months. So we extended the contract out 10 months before going to bid, and we, ideally based on their input, receive savings based on the contract price. But what that does is on this project, we have a lot of engineering support. We have a resident engineer who has a trailer on site throughout the duration of the project. So it increases the cost for this person now by that 10 months to be on site through the project, and then other engineering backup for that. So the increase in schedule, while it saved construction costs, it did increase our engineering costs a bit on the support side. The other bigger change probably on this that came out, and this came out in the design engineering process, was, and I'll try not to get too in the woods technically, but fundamentally, we talked earlier about 4160 volts coming into the plant, and the biggest part of the project is the aeration system, and the existing blowers use a 4160 volt source. And we, from our side, wanted that to be stepped down to 480 volts and run everything on 480 volts throughout the project. But initially they thought, based on availability of equipment, that wouldn't be possible and there wouldn't be equipment for it. So when Greeley and Hanson originally quoted the design work, they assumed 4160 design around that. When they got into design, they actually found that they could get better efficiency by switching to 480 volts, and they were able to get blowers by going to smaller equipment and thus more efficient equipment, and get us to 480 volts we wanted from a safety standpoint. But what that did was it increased the design complexity significantly. So now instead of having 4160 go to just direct power, they have to have all the electrical gear around managing the 480 volts. So that was a big electrical change. And then there was several smaller changes, both related to the design that we requested, and then ongoing recently during construction, we've had some design changes. For example, replacing some sludge pumps that weren't originally in the scope of work. So all of this extra extension work and then the design change really totaled up to this $1,116,000. I have spent quite a bit of time going through all the numbers with them, and I've had some back and forth with them on the numbers. And there was even a number of, some number adjustment through the process. And I believe the numbers are fair and valid. And I think we still, based on the increased construction cost or the project cost, I think it's a reasonable change. So anyways, longer explanation, but it's a big number. I thought I'd explain it a bit. I'm happy to take any questions on this at this point.
Let's see, I saw Amanda Burnham first and then
Okay.
Jim.
This is a pretty significant amount to be approving for a second amendment. And I'm just curious, and this might have to go to Vic or to Chris. Is this something that should be going out for rebid, or are we too far into this where we have to accept it? I'm just it just seems like a very large amount for an amendment for the board to be approving. So
these are, I could answer the first part of the question, and Vic or Chris can come in if they want to. These are engineering services, so we don't bid out these type of services. These are services that we select on a qualification-based process, and then we hire, and then we pay generally what it costs them to do the work. So it's a time and material kind of function. So generally on a bidded contract, we are limited to amount of change orders. We really can't go beyond 25% of a bidded contract construction work on a change order, but this is not that. This is engineering services.
We had the same response when the original quote came to us. Brad and I both met with the contractor, and we did a number of discussions to discuss all of this with them. And Brad is convinced that the work is significant enough, given that the changes that were made in the design during the process of going through this change order. Chris may have something to say.
And and if I could just get clarification, Brad, the numbers again, I wasn't quite following you. The amount for the second amendment is how much?
It's $1,116,000. So it takes the total up to $3,780,000.
Thank you.
Previously, it was $2,664,000.
Okay, thank you.
And one thing I didn't mention, when the original amount was estimated and the scope of work was developed in Greeley and Hanson, we were estimating this to be a $15 million project. Through the changes that happened in design, it came out to be a $23 million project. So it really is a significantly larger project than what we first started with Greeley and Hanson when we first started it.
Okay. And Jim, you had a question or comment.
I was going to ask what the original estimate was, and Brad just offered that information. So I think if
Other questions?
So just to clarify, Jean, just to clarify, so Brad, even with this, I want to make sure I heard this correctly, that even with this particular amendment, we're still under budget for the entire project.
So the entire project, we didn't have a budget hit or miss on that. So initially, when we did the first scope of work and the first design plan on the project, it was estimated to be around a $15 million project. Then when we got into design and we started doing these improvements like the 480 volt and changes there, and we did other changes where we moved our electrical equipment inside, all changes that we thought were for the betterment of the whole design and in product. It increased the complexity. So then the engineering estimate after that came out to be, I believe, $22 million. And then we went into bid and it actually bid out at 23 million. So, and we're seeing higher bids now because electrical equipment is hard to get. It's more expensive. It's kind of the nature of the beast right now. So under or over, it's hard to say.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah.
And I had a question, Brad. when you were explaining the extension of the project, that 10-month additional project time, you were saying that the construction, extending that out over 10 months, it actually would result in some construction cost savings. But then in doing that, all the re-engineering of the project, we're incurring more engineering costs. Do you have a sense of whether the increased engineering costs are larger or smaller than the savings we're getting from the construction costs?
I don't. I mean, so part of this amendment is a lot of the re-engineering costs were for design changes that we wanted to have done. It was independent of that. The part of it that's the extension is about probably 30 to 40%, I believe. I don't have the number in front of me, and there, I don't know. So the contractors didn't quote it both ways when it went to bid. They didn't bid it as a short project. They just, feedback from multiple of them said, this is going to be really, really hard to do in this short time of period. And we would have to do all this extra stuff and we're not sure we can get the equipment. And so it was really based on their feedback and coming back, and potentially maybe somebody wouldn't have bid it. I mean, it was really on their feedback that it just didn't seem doable based on, again, phasing and electrical equipment, getting all the electrical equipment. So no, I don't know how much it would have saved. It was kind of necessary to actually do the project.
Okay, that makes sense. So, okay, any other questions or comments? All right. Well, seeing none, then is there a motion to approve this second amendment to this agreement?
So moved.
Second.
All right, and Holly, please call the roll.
Burnham,
Yes.
Parmenter,
Yes.
Kapler,
Yes.
Sherman.
Yes.
Okay, amendment is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, before we move on, and thank you, Brad, for that complex explanation for all of that. Now, before we move on to old business, just want to let folks know that maybe watching the meeting on our Facebook live stream, that if you have any comments, public comment you would like to make at the end of our meeting, now is the time to perhaps put that in the comment section on our Facebook live stream. All right, so is there any old business from the board? Seeing none, any old business from staff? All right. No. Any new business from the board? Yes, Jim.
It's not necessarily new business. It's a question for Vic, so I guess it's new. Vic or someone else, the project that's going on at Sayre Road and Moore's Pike, does that involve CBU at all? It's a huge project.
It's not to my knowledge.
No, we on the Sayre Road, this is Brad, on the Sayre Road part of it, we had some water main concerns because they're putting a bridge over the creek that we were heavily involved with. But that's been all of it. We haven't done any relocations or anything. It's totally a streets project and bike lanes and those type of enhancements.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Is there any new business from staff?
None.
Okay. And I don't believe we have any subcommittee reports, do we? No? Okay. Then we'll move on to staff reports. Vic.
Just a couple of things. We did successfully get our budget passed, in case I didn't tell you that the last time. So the budget has passed for 2021. And I want to thank all the board members for all the help in getting that done. We will be ready to go come the first of the year. The second item is that we will be going to council this week and last week. Last week we had first reading of the two items related to the sewer that we've been discussing with you recently. Those are the bonds for the big tunnel project and the Dillman project, and also the amendments to Title 10 of the of the city code. Those items are going to the utilities subcommittee this Wednesday evening. We'll be there at 5:30 if anyone's interested in watching that meeting. Also, we will be going to council for final approval. I think it's 2 weeks from Wednesday. So those things are moving right along. I don't have any other particular news right now, so thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Last item then. Nolan, are there any petitions, communications from the public on our Facebook live stream?
There is no public comment from Facebook.
Okay, thank you. Well, then with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
No move.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.